So the things you think you need to do, the how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna find a new woman in my life? Is all based on how you think and how you feel, because that will create the actions you take. And it's not about what some dating guru online tells you what to do. That's the only way you can make a sustainable change. Everything else you do just by logic and by cognitive, knowing things is not gonna work on the long run. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of How to Design Your Life, or in other words, how to redesign your life. Now, I understand when you're coming from a place where you have lived your life for quite a while, for let's say decades. You're in your 30s, maybe your 40s or your 50s, or maybe even your 60s, I don't know, and I don't care. You can always decide to redesign your life. Now, what does it mean? Things happen to you that you can't control, right? There are either things in life that happen you can control, and there are things you cannot control. And let's call it like a dome. So you have this dome over your life, and within that dome there are things you can control, and outside that dome there is the things you cannot control. So the things you cannot control, you got to let it go, right? You can't change it. So you can't control it. You can't change it. The only thing you can change there is how you think about it. And how you think about it is the key thing to make it worthwhile and, make it even acceptable to be in your life, even if you can't control it. So let's say, for example, just to be very actual to the current world we're living in. We're still having this virus going on. There are devastating wars going on. There are terror attacks. There are so many things outside of our control, right? You can't change the fact someone shoots a rocket at some building, whatever, right? We can't control that. The only thing is how we think about it. Does it make us scared? Do we act in a certain way because we have that fear? Do we act in a certain way in order, how, for example, the whole COVID situation, how do you act upon it? Do you feel frightened when you go outside, when you meet people, when you wear a mask or when you don't wear a mask somewhere, right? It all depends on how you think about this. So the things outside your dome are only controlled by you, by the way you think. And the beautiful thing is that the way you think about things will make you feel a certain way, right? That's just how it works. We think and we feel, and they are connected to each other. So the way you think makes you feel a certain way, and the way you feel, it makes you think in a certain way, right? I mean, and the funny thing is, it always is about something that is from your past, or it is something from your future that you can worry about or feel an experience in. But you are experiencing it in the now. So whatever you're thinking now creates a certain feeling in the now, right? That's the only thing you have in your control. So even if it is outside your dome, you can still bring it inside your dome, because you start thinking about it and then feeling about it. And the feeling and the thinking makes you decide how you act upon it. And that combined, the thinking, feeling, and the action, is what we call your personality. That is how you are, right? That's how you portray yourself. That's based on the way you think and feel and the actions you take. And that's crucial. That is crucial in this whole journey, what you're going through. Whatever the situation is, if you're coming out of a divorce, if you're coming out of a long-term relationship, or anything else happened in your life that creates this crisis feeling in your body, where you don't understand, what's next, what do I need to do, what's my next move? We'll start with this. Dissect it. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And what are the actions that I'm taking based upon that? And that's how we operate, right? Any action you take is always based on how you think and how you feel. There is no other way. And even if other people tell you to do something, you have an opinion about it. You have a way you think about that. And you make it valid. So, okay, yeah, well, they're either my boss or they're another authority why I'm doing it. So I'm doing it, and I have a certain feeling about it. And it doesn't have to be big, right? We obey the laws, so we have these rules that we do in society. So I wear a seatbelt when I drive my car, right? That's just an action I do, and I'm not actively thinking about it, but it is a belief system in my subconscious mind that makes me do it. And a belief system, for that matter, are repeating thoughts that, became an automated way of thinking. So I started believing it is true. A belief is something you believe is true, right? That's the whole definition of a belief. And we have thousands of beliefs about anything. It creates your automated way of thinking. Now, if you're in your 30s and your 40s, your 50s, or your 60s, or your 70s, or your 80s, even if you're 90 years old, you've had all these decades to create all these beliefs, but they all stem from the pure beginning of your life, right? The first 5 years are the biggest influence on creating those beliefs. And that sets like the foundation of what you believe is true, what you've heard in your past, from your parents, from your teachers, from your peers, your friends. They created the beliefs you have. This is how the world operates. This is how they react to me. So, for example, when you grow up and you believe that if you act in a certain way, your parents either approve it, they like it, or they don't, right? So that's how you create your belief, what's good, what's not good. When do I get my candy and when am I get punished? And that goes on in your whole life. But it goes even further like that if you are how your beliefs are formed by the things you see. Money doesn't grow on trees. It's hard to earn money. You got to work hard to make a living. I mean, there are just beliefs. It's not particularly true, because there are people that don't work hard and have a lot of money. And, well, actually, money doesn't grow on trees. Trees are the money, right? The paper we make is made from wood. So the whole principle, money doesn't grow on trees, is a belief. It's not the truth. So the beliefs we have, we define as our truths, but they're not per se the physical, the finite truth, right? There are no finite truths in that matter. Because how we view the world, the reality that you see, is just a reflection of what your senses get, right? A good example, I mean, I have this cup here, right? It's a red cup. Okay, so we see it as a red cup because it's red, right? It makes sense. No one will argue that it is not red. At least when you're not colorblind, maybe you can't see that. But if you can see colors, you'll see it's red. So we think that's true, right? And there's no doubt about it. It is true. It is a red cup. I see it too, right? But I see it. It's my eyes that translate light reflecting on this surface of this cup. And I mean, light, white light, there's white light coming in here. So white light has the spectrum of all colors. If you combine in light all colors together, you get white light, right? Now, there's one frequency of light that's being reflected and not absorbed. So red is being reflected to my eyes, and that's what I see. So is the cup then really red, or is it just a reflection of red light? And therefore, if I'm touching the cup, everything that I touch here is not red, because the red part is reflected, right? So there are all colors in there except the red. But I only see the red because that's being bounced off this cup, so I can see red. So the truth is not per se what your senses pick up. I mean, that's just how the world works. A tree falling down in a forest doesn't make sound because you need ears to interpret the sound waves into sound. Now, a tree does create sound waves, so if there is a creature with ears, it can do the translation, but a tree itself doesn't make the sound falling down, right? It's the sound waves. And we, as a human being or an animal who is present, we can interpret that into a sound. So the things we see, we feel, we taste, we smell, is all an interpretation of reality. It's not the reality, truth itself, right? It's just our interpretation. If you were able to see UV light, the world would look totally different, right? So what is then reality? What is then the truth? It's only what we make of it. And the same goes for your belief system. So the beliefs you have are being built by you in your past, your experiences, the things you've been taught, the things you've seen, right? And that all combined make you decide, okay, so this is true. Money doesn't grow on trees, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not handsome enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not whatever enough. It's all coming from this old principle that something happened in your past that created that belief. But since the beliefs are just repeating thoughts, you can change them. I used to have the belief that I am not a runner until I changed the belief that I am a runner and that I can run 10 kilometers, right? I had to work for it. I had to change that. I had to do stuff for it. But it started with the thought. And the moment you start changing the thought and the feeling combined with it, in this case, like the feeling of excitement, or am I gonna make it? Is it gonna be good? Is it gonna be bad? That doesn't matter. The same combined, the combination of the thinking and the feeling led me to the action to actually start running. And the first time I ran, it was like 100 meters and I was like dead, right? So I had to train for it, I had to work for it, I had to do stuff for it, but that changed my belief into I'm not a runner, into I am a runner and I can run 10 kilometers. And I actually run the 10 kilometers multiple times. So I could change it. So you can change the belief, but it starts with the thinking. So how you think about the things outside your dome, but also inside your dome, is everything. Everything you need to change your current life, whatever the situation is. If you're, like I said, if you came out of a relationship, if you're in a divorce or through divorce, you feel a certain way. And this experience of this breakup will make you feel a certain way. And you start thinking in a certain way. There are thoughts in your mind you're using now to create feelings and therefore take actions, or a lack of action could happen as well. And I understand it's hard because it is a big thing, right? There's this whole principle of what you've been taught, that you should be in a relationship, you should have a happy marriage, you should have everything in order, and now all of a sudden you don't, right? So you feel disappointed, you let yourself down, you let people down, your parents or your peers or your friends or even society, right? Because you can't live up to the standard. Well, let's talk about the standard. Who made that the truth? It's just that everyone does it, doesn't mean, and not everyone, but the most people do it, doesn't make it true, right? I mean, let's go back to World War II, right? The fact that some guy said we need to do this and everyone should do this, and all these people did it, didn't make it, what you should do. So the opinion of the collective isn't per se true. It's just their opinion. And it's still up to you what you decide, if you go with it or not. So if marriage or a relationship, or having to have a relationship, or having to create a life based on the norms in society is the truth belief system you have in your mind, you can change that. You don't have to be married to have a good life. You don't have to be in a relationship to feel loved. You don't have to have a girlfriend to be abundant with women, right? There are so many things created outside of the way we think, because that defines how we view the world. And the moment you start shifting that way of thinking, if you question everything you think, if you question everything you believe is true, you can actually modify it. If you believe it's true that you're afraid of heights, or you're afraid of spiders, or you're afraid of whatever, it's a belief. If I'm afraid of heights and someone else isn't, then there is no truth in my belief. Because why is he not scared and I am scared? Because I believe it is scary. Well, fear is something that comes from the deepest understanding that there is something to be aware of. And we need fear, right? Our brain is programmed around fear because it will keep you safe. Otherwise, we wouldn't have survived for millions of years, right? Saber-toothed tigers would have eaten as alive, or whatever animals were around back then. So the fear is useful, right? It makes you survive. And that principle, like the cortex of your brain, like the deepest scenes of you, the first part of your brain, what was created, is all created around the principle of fear. And that is the only thing that's talking to you when you're making a decision to go something else, to do something else, to change. Your brain is very capable of seeing the fear of what you're gonna lose, but it's not able to see the things when you change you can gain. So that's why things in change are so hard. Getting out of this relationship was very fearful. It was very hard. Maybe not for you if you decided it, but if you decided it, you still had to conquer the fear of getting away from what you knew, right? You had a life. Everything wasn't all that bad, right? There were good things, but getting out of that relationship would change that too. You wouldn't have these things anymore. So it's the balance. What do? Are you going with what you have, all knowing that it's all good, but the bad stuff, they just don't weigh up to get? Or is it there's more bad stuff and the good stuff doesn't weigh up to the bad stuff, so I have to leave? But that means that you're going to get rid of this part as well. And that is what your brain is very good capable of, to understand what part that is. And well, maybe it's better not to do that right now. That's why people take so long to make that decision. If I talk for myself, it took me almost a year to make the decision that the way I was living wasn't good enough anymore, and in the end led up to the divorce I went through. So making that change based on fear is very natural. And having the fear around is also very natural. But again, the fear is again a thought. It's not real. It's a thought. And that thought creates an emotion that we call fear, right? That's caused this feeling. And it can be triggered by anything. You can be triggered in fear by receiving an email, right? Or a letter, or if someone said something. So you can be triggered by fear very, very fast. But you got to understand it is just a thought, and it says nothing about the reality. Because again, what we say, reality is a reflection of what we see with what we experience in our senses, right? And our senses are the input to make us think. I think this is a red cup, which is filled by coffee, by the way. So I'm going to take a sip there. The taste of coffee, another thing. It's just an experience based on processes happening within my mouth, right? Are being translated into my brains, creating a feeling and a thought. Coffee is good, tastes good, feels good, right? So everything that you experience is all about that. There is nothing inside your dome and outside your dome that is not created by thinking, feelings, and the actions you take upon that. Because it tastes good, so my next action is that I'm going to take another sip. That's just how it works. You think, I was thinking I need another sip because it felt good, so the action was I take another sip. If you get this principle, it is the key to anything, because everything is possible. We are not our thoughts, just like I said, right? Your personality, your actions, thinking, and your feelings, that combined your personality is not you. It's just a collective of items that make you present in a certain way. But you are not your thoughts. You have your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You're having your feelings. You are not your actions. You're taking just your actions. And that might show to the world a portraying of who you are, but it is not who you are. You're not your body either, right? You have your body. And in that way, your body you have today is a complete different body, like physically cellular different body than you had 10 years ago or when you were 5 years old. You literally do not have the same cells anymore. They died and created new cells and formed your body what it is right now. So you are not your body. So who are you? Well, you are the awareness of it. That's why the Buddhists and mindfulness people always talk about the power of now, right? The now, the present, is the only thing you can experience your true self, your awareness. Your awareness has nothing to do with the past or the future. It's just present right now. You're watching this video. That's it. So this presence, this awareness is the closest thing we can, call you or I, my I. So that means that even the past and the future are not in the picture. So everything you think of yourself from the past, experiences, your beliefs, everything that we just talked about, which is creating you in the moment, is just an illusion. The past isn't even real anymore. It's a memory. And a memory is stored in your brain and makes you think about it. So even how you feel and how you think about your past relationship, where you came out of, is not real. They're just thoughts. And we can change the thoughts. We can change our feelings by changing our thoughts. Right? If you want to feel different, you have to think different. So for example, think about something, about the most beautiful vacation you had. What was the coolest, the greatest vacation you've ever experienced? Think about that. And when you think about it, you'll start noticing that you feel the same as back then, right? You feel good again. So feeling bad, feeling sad, feeling angry, feeling is created by the way you think about stuff, about your relationship, about your breakup, about your career, about your money, about your health, about your everything, about your happiness, whatever it is. So the feeling you create based on the thoughts you have is how you say you are, but it's all based from the past. If you're divorced, if you're coming out of a relationship, you're not in a relationship anymore. That is in the past. You are just you right now. And me too. And I'm just like you, a guy with a body, with organs, with the skin, with bones, with fat, with muscle, just like you. There's nothing different between us, except that we're constructed differently, but we're all kind of like the same, right? And not only you and me, but everyone. Elon Musk is just the same. He just has different experiences. He just has different beliefs. He just has different thoughts and feelings than you. And based on that, he made different decisions. He decided to do different things. And that is why he is doing the things that he's doing. And that is why you are doing the things you're doing. And me. So the awareness we have is the triggering part to actually trigger that, to make the change. You being aware of your current situation and deciding, this is not my life that I've planned myself for. This is not the life that I think will make me happy. This is not the life that I think is enough for me. That is your awareness. And that is why this starts with this awareness, and that is why that's so important that you are like that. So starting with that awareness of your thoughts, on what you're feeling, if you notice that, you can start making a change. So think about an elephant. Just play along with me. Think about an elephant, right? Got it? Okay. Now think about a giraffe. Okay. You just changed a thought. You literally just changed your thought. You changed your thinking. So think about an elephant again. Now try to make the elephant not a big, huge elephant, but a baby elephant, which is also an elephant, but just a baby and it's smaller. You again change the way you thought. So we can change the way we think. It's pretty easy actually. So why not think, well, I feel bad because I failed in my relationship and now I'm alone and I don't know what to do. Change that thinking into, I am alone, I still have me, I still am me, nothing changed there, and everything in the past is just in the past. And it doesn't change who I am because I'm still me. That's a way of thinking. So you can decide to change the way you think. It's literally that easy. Now, it is a balance skill, right? So you have this whole stack of things you believe and feel and think and thought, everything you've built up through the years that you think is the truth and you think that defines you. And then there's just this one little thought we just did, that's not going to change anything there, right? It's not in balance. So we have to grow this thinking. You have to keep creating these thoughts, these new thoughts. And you have to start connecting them to the new feeling that you want to feel. If you feel alone as in I'm alone and I'm lonely and it feels bad, then that's not the way you want to think. You want to think I'm alone, which creates new opportunities to do things that I haven't been able to do before. If you live alone right now, right, you can decide how you plan your day. And when you do your dishes, and when you do the laundry, and when you go away, when you go out, or whatever it is, right? You have no one in your home to talk to decide what you need to do or what you guys need to do. So the way you view being alone and what you create in the feeling you connect to that being alone, is it something you are in lack of, the scarcity way of thinking, or is it something that creates new opportunities? You might be sad about the woman that you leave or left, or the relationship with her that you left, but you've opened up the opportunity to create something with millions of other women, right? So all of a sudden, you've gone from something, one single thing, one woman in one relationship, into a potential of dozens of new relationships, right? So it's just how you think about it. And that is why the thinking is so important. And that's why we're talking about this. So the moment you start deciding that your way of thinking needs to change, you have the key to unlock an unlimited potential. If you would be thinking the same as Elon Musk, you would be building rockets now, right? So what is it that you'd like? That's the question you need to answer. What is it that you would really like to have, want, be, create, are? And what does it need in your way of thinking to create that? So do you want to have a new relationship? Well, based on what? And what would it look like? And who would it be? What would her traits be that you were looking for? And who do you need to be to create that? Because it's not the things you'll do, it's how you think and how you feel. And that combined creates the action. So the things you think you need to do, the how am I going to do this? How am I going to find a new woman in my life? Is all based on how you think and how you feel, because that will create the actions you take. And it's not about what some dating guru online tells you what to do. That's just a trick. It's not creating from outside of you the world that you need or want to have. So it's pretty much the same when I look at my home, I see a light switch, and if I click on the light switch, a light goes on. So I'll just take the light switch and the light, I'll get to another room or another home. I put the light switch to some place on the wall. I make the lamp into the ceiling, and wait, it didn't work. Well, because there's wiring involved, and I didn't see the wiring. I didn't know about the wiring, right? So just using the light switch and the lamp doesn't make it work in a way that works for you, because you don't have the whole picture. Well, the same goes for this. All these videos online about dating apps and dating pickup and game and night game and all these tricks and techniques that you're using or could use, it's just the light switch and the bulb, right? You need them, right? It will help you, but you need to have the wiring as well. Does that make sense? So you have to create and be first the one you need to be to get what you want, and not what you need. But we'll dive into that principle another time. So you first have to become a new version of yourself in order to create the life you desire. And what does it mean? It means you have to start thinking in a certain way that creates a certain feeling in a certain way that combined creates a certain action in a certain way, which will be different from your current situation. That's the only way you can make a sustainable change. Everything else you do just by logic and by cognitive, knowing things is not going to work on the long run, because it's not part of you. It's not part of your belief system. You have to incorporate it into your beliefs, into your repeating thoughts that this is the truth, that this is your new truth. You are a runner. You can do this, right? If you believe you are not a runner, you won't be able to train enough to make it to the 10K. There has to be the change in your personality to believe that you are a runner in order to make the change. or that you are an attractive man, or that you are someone who has an abundance in women, even if they don't have 10 women in his life at the same time, or that you are able to make 100 grand a year or more, or 1 million or 1 billion. I don't care what it is that you want. The sky is not even the limit, guys. Because if you think the sky is the limit, you're still creating a limit, right? There is no limit. It is only limited up to where you think it is possible. If you do not think it's possible to make 1 million a year, you're not going to make 1 million a year. Because why would you even try, right? You don't believe it to be true. Well, there are people who believe it is true because they made it true. And that's your proof that it is possible, right? And it is even possible to make 1 billion a year. There are people doing it. Not much, not many, but there are people. So it is possible, right? It just has to start with the change in the way you think. And whatever it is that you think will create a certain, good life, and you think that those are the things you want to have or to experience in order to create it, the type of job you have, the type of relationships you have, the family life you have, the social life you have, whatever it is, the health you have, it starts with believing that is true, that it is possible. Don't worry about the how yet, right? Because when you start with the how, you only start with the light switch and the bulb, but that's not enough. You need to have the wiring to make it work, right? So you have to change yourself, your way of thinking. There's no, it's just, that is the truth. That's not an interpretation of truth, but it is just how the world works. All right, guys. So this is it for today, and I hope this really made sense in how you can start redesigning your life. And in this video series, we're going deeper into all these elements, the things you need to have or want to have to make this work. And over time, you will see that you start reprogramming yourself and making the right intentions, making the right goals, having the universal laws working for you instead of against you. But in the core, this is so foundational. It starts with this: how do you think? And that will create the chain of this chain of events: how you think, how you feel, and the actions you take. And from there, you will create a new life. All right, guys. So thank you so much for being here. If you want to have a free training on building your confidence, which is, of course, a big part of creating the person who you want to be, I have a free training lined up for you, because that's just one way of, showing my appreciation for what you do. And I really want you to learn all this, right? I want you to learn how to create this new mindset of your confidence. And because of that confidence, you can unlock other areas in your life, right? So not only in your dating life, but also in your health and your wealth and whatever part of your life you're looking for. If you want that, go to confidence.masteryourpersonality.com. Click on the link in the description below and get it for free. There's this free training where we go into a couple of techniques where you can change the way you think about confidence and how you can create yourself in a more confident way. So pick it up right after this video. Thank you so much for watching. Give us a like and subscribe. And of course, if you're watching this on Facebook, so cool you're here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.